Before the show begins, adjust your sound and focus. My voice should be easily heard in all parts of the room. Beep and flash should synchronize. If they do not, recheck the threading directions on your projector.
Our perception of reality is warped and shaped by our minds. The way we view the world is simply the fabrication of our brains. They are constantly at work calculating the outcomes of interactions, determining the direction we walk to get to a given location, and why we even need to get there in the first place. We are not unlike machines, always calculating. I was born on the 23rd of June 1912 in Maida Vale, England, to Julius Turing and Ethel Sarah. My father was not here at the time, however, being a part of the Indian Civil Service. He was in India at the time I was born. Reflecting as far as I can into my memory, I can remember vague moments of my time at my elementary and high schools. I was obsessed with the workings of nature and how it correlated to math since I was extremely small. Actually, ever since I had read the book Natural Wonders Every Child Should Know. I think I was even told at one point that I was too interested in the sciences, that if I wasn't dedicated enough to other subjects, that public school would serve me no use. Yes, I was different. Why does my brain behave differently than everyone else's? Why does anyone's brain work? How do they work? These questions intrigued me, and also contributed to the pursuit of math, and eventually to work with ciphers, computation, and eventually work in artificial intelligence. By 1928, when I was 16, I had been working on remodeling the work of Albert Einstein and Kurt Gödel. This work started me thinking up plans for machines, as my interest in non-human intelligence grew. A Turing machine, if you will, is what I thought of. A machine that would be capable of solving any algorithm. Essentially, it would load a program, or in other words, a list of rules, and spit out a list of numbers obeying these rules. I remained convinced that this machine would someday be built, as I simply thought up the concept while I was working on the formal theory of computation. In 1935, I was elected a fellow for my work on proving the central limit theorem, a theory dealing with statistics. Around the same time, I raced to finish my work on the Einsteindungs problem, a computational logic problem, against Alonzo Church, an American logician and mathematician, who, in the end, finished and published proof on the subject before me. We have both, however, been recognized since as making large contributions to the subject of computational logic. When the Second World War rolled along, I was pulled into the cracking of codes encrypting the German communications. Being a part of the government code and cipher school, I was among the first brought to the job, despite being a pacifist. The Enigma was an extremely advanced cipher used by the Germans to encode messages of positions of naval ships and so on. This was the code that we were cracking. The machines used to encrypt these messages would randomly assign a letter in the alphabet to one in the message. This would create a seemingly random line of numbers. Our job was to find the patterns in the messages so that we may be able to decipher more messages and determine the positions of German ships. So using my skills from the cipher school and developing my Turing machine, I did just that. With a little help from the funds of my friends, of course. Throughout the war, we were responsible for the sinking of many naval ships. Something I know I should be proud of, but am instead ashamed of. The loss of life in the war was too great to be proud of. From 1945 and onwards, in the time after the war, I became obsessed with artificial intelligence once again. I had been working on all sorts of projects, like the first automatic computing engine, which led to the creation of the Bendix G15 in 1956. Eventually, my goals of reaching more advanced artificial intelligence were achieved. I made a test to determine the differences between a human and a computer. I imagine that someday, these tests will come in handy when the complexity of computers is more advanced.
On the 31st of March, Alan Turing was convicted of indecency. At the time, when being gay was illegal, the public treated Turing like an outlaw, despite being a war hero, a genius, someone who had devoted himself to the advancement of technology and really for the greater good. Alan Turing created the foundation of modern computing, and yet his name has been forgotten, if not tarnished, by the ridiculous laws of his time. After he was tried, he was given injections of female hormones for a year, after which he is believed to have committed suicide.
Silent thunder, sky is black as day. Only a dream away. Orion, 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 still deep sleeping, finding you're not here. Watching a dream appear. Tumbling through 1,000 centuries. You don't know where you land. It's so dark in mythology. Treasures of history.